Hey, we're on.
Oh. Sure.
Here we go. All right. Welcome to Pillage Overload.
And I hit the damn candle again.
All
right.
That vampire.
Here we are.
All right. Yep. Hey, good. It's live. See, we're on. We're good. I got it. Got it.
He's all happy. All right.
I am happy. All right. I'm going to go.
Should we have a drink to that then?
We are having a drink to that. And we're going to have a drink. We'll have a normal drink. And then
let's drink to being on time.
Drink to being live.
First.
Live with friends.
Here, I'll do this one.
All right. So, as you all can see, we have...
Which one did you just try that? Hold on. Did you guys try that drink?
How was it? Are they there?
Are you there?
You there?
Okay.
How was the drink?
Did
you try it?
Is that the one, your combination that you just tried? In your glass?
Yes. It's pretty strong. Davy's hat will probably fall off.
We're going to try the other version, so...
All right, here we go. Let's just kick it off and drink.
No, it's good. I like it.
All right. If Davy likes it, then it's too weak.
Well, it's only 2 ounces of rum.
So what was it called? Jump Up and Kiss Me?
Jump Up and Kiss Me.
Yes.
Stay on your side of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on your side of the bar.
Hey, get a room.
Well, it's I'm not jumping up and kissing anything, but it's pretty good.
It's rum, and it's not horrible.
I can deal with it. Well, like we said, welcome to Pillage Overload.
Welcome to Pillage Overload. And we are with our mates from Florida, as we said, advertised. Captain Mayhem and Navigator Davy. Welcome, guys.
Hi, welcome.
I don't have all the sound effects that you guys have, so here.
From the Captain's Quarters podcast.
That's right.
Mondays,
Yes.
8 p.m. And 8 p.m. is obviously a good time for us East Coasters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not too late, not too early.
We catch all the California pirates at dinner.
Yeah, they sit there and watch us getting drunk like, man, I need to catch up.
So thanks for having us on board.
I'm really excited because you guys are the first guest that we've had on since we've done this whole new setup with the digital and not. If any of our older viewers remember, we had a video here and then Facebook message and video chatted with people. It was so
a mess.
Last century.
It was so 10 years ago.
Hey, we're pirates. What do they expect?
Yeah, pirates and technology
don't mix.
They do not. If it was not for Davy, our show, and Mandy, out of Utah, our show would suck.
I love all the when we were on the show a couple weeks ago and Davey pulled up even just the graphics from our website when we were talking, and I'm sitting there thinking like, there's no way I can't do this and that and this.
Yeah, we need to have. We need somebody like Davey. We need to have like a technician off.
I need to trust somebody
somewhere.
To do that, though.
Yeah, we don't know anybody that can do that, so we do it ourselves. And get along. That's how we go.
It's better than what we were.
We mostly get along. 90% of the time, I think 90% is probably a high
That is a
percentage.
high percentage.
75% of the time it works.
Well, here's what I think. When the shows look like we're the mom and pop kind of a thing, and we're not completely smooth and polished,
Mm-hmm.
I think people enjoy us more that way.
Yeah.
I think if we're really, really overly smooth and polished, it may not attract the same kind of attention as we have where we can have everybody talking with us and chatting with us and being a part of the show.
I think a big part of it too is still the communication with the people watching us, like what you guys do when you share stuff up in here. And I always have the
Paying
streaming
attention.
on
Yeah.
YouTube, so I can sit there and poke him like, hey, we got to catch up on comments. Like we got Emily Farrell's on, Robert's on, and my uncle who watches every night we're on.
Yes, very dedicated.
Well, I see Robert and Emily there. Very good. Nice to see them.
Yeah.
Are they drinking though?
Well, they both cheers with drink icons, so I would hope so. We do send out the newsletter on Sundays with the drink mix in there, so we're hoping people would be joining us and trying it out. Bobo is in the middle of a meeting, so she said she's going to join us a little bit later, but she will be here.
She will be here.
So
drink too.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's a good thing. Rum is good.
Rum is always good. But so guys, your guys' show, we do the beginning and the end of the year season because of everything we're doing reenacting in the middle of the year. And obviously this weekend we have an event, and managing the show with the event is just, we're ready to pull our hair out. But you guys do yours year round. Is that how you started doing it year round, or did you kind of just start slowly and they're like, hey, let's just keep doing this? And what's driving you to do it every week?
We actually did consider that we were going to do it year round. I don't think we considered anything different, did we?
No.
We were going to do we were going to do it once a week, every week. We actually had a couple of conversations once we got into it and we're having fun with it. We had a couple of conversations with, hey, wonder if we could do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
My God.
That conversation didn't last very long. I can tell you that.
Oh, Lord. I couldn't even imagine doing this 3 times a week.
I always jokingly say the show, Davy and Mandy are really the important parts of the show. I'm just the pretty face that you could draw pictures over or do whatever you want, which Davy will do. He'll put images up over us, but
this is the pretty face over here.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody would agree with you on that one, Jay.
I know they would.
But the technical stuff that Davy does, I bet Davy puts in, I'll brag about him. What do you think? You put in anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week on the show?
Yeah. Well,
I believe it.
All the stuff we have on there. We didn't start off with all the stuff that we've been doing.
No, that's true. And we had a little hiccup in the beginning of our adventures. We had a split of personalities within who we were. And when that split happened, the person that kind of had control of everything just kind of shut it all down on us. And it was like, wow, what do we do now? And Davey and I sat down and talked about it. And we figured out a lot more on our own. The person that was with us, he was very tech savvy. And we had started believe it or not, on Talk Like a Pirate Day back in 2021. And then in November, there was a mutiny. We'll call it a mutiny. Mutiny.
Proper pirate term.
For lack of a better word.
And when the person that wasn't happy walked away, he had control of the accounts and everything. We were left dead in the water. So it took us about 4 weeks maybe?
Yeah.
To get back
4 weeks of figuring out what we needed to do and changing some things around. And Davey jumped right in because he's tech savvy on everything. I mean, when I need something, I just say, hey, what do you think? And I go by his opinions and everything else. I'm too old to care about it.
We've been watching your guys' show on and off since 2021. I remember catching it when we were curious about if there were other pirates out there doing shows when we were doing ours within that, because we started ours in an app, not on YouTube. But it's interesting you say that the person kind of ran off with it. I think that's where me and him are kind of paranoid about bringing someone else in, because this is our baby.
Well,
we're scared to have somebody come, you start relying on somebody, and you have to eventually, but when the wheels fall off, it's just, you're so focused on other things and don't want to lose sight of what you're doing.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, and I believe in consistency, and if somebody
Mhm.
ruins that consistency, and then you have to change course, the people outside of the knowledge of what's going on, if
Yeah.
they don't know what's going on, and you don't actually want to broadcast all over the internet anymore of your
Right.
drama,
And
so
that's
they
a key. That's a key too, is what you're saying about the knowledge of what's going on. It has to be somebody that is history minded like we are.
right.
You can't just go out and do this research on a whim and not really know what you're looking for and be able to put a show together that's going to look authentic and feel, have that feel.
Well,
And
it's the feel of our vibe, like with
yeah,
their vibe and what
they
you.
have to vibe with you,
Yeah.
and they have to know, they be on the same wavelength as you are, and be able to know, when we say we're going to do a show about Steve Bonnet, they can go, look all that information up, or help us put a show together that's based on that.
Like Davy with Mr. Potato Head a couple weeks ago. I mean, that's what I'd like.
Yeah.
You guys feed off
It's
each other,
little
and there's
things
little
like that.
things like that bring the extra piece to the show.
And there was something else I was going to say, but getting old, I probably have already forgotten it. It's kind of like walking into another room. One of the things that kept us from doing a show more than one night a week, though, was that we did like you. We started looking around to see who else had pirate themed shows,
Mm-hmm.
and we found out there were quite a few.
Right.
There
Yeah.
are.
Very few.
It's funny how that is when you really look into it.
Yeah, I mean, when we started looking, and we're now part of the IPC, International Pirate Community, with and you guys are too.
Yep.
Yeah.
With
Mark Forget.
yes, Captain Smoo,
Mhm.
and I think there are 15 different programs
I
in the
think so, yeah.
IPC. So we found out that there were other programs on other nights, and it was like, well, we don't really want to do that because we don't want to compete with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to work with everybody. So
Yeah.
we put some words out, and we've watched a few other shows. And for example, we watched for the first time. I watched Pirate Radio last night with Gonzo,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on a different platform, so I was lost as all get up. But
he's all over the place. He's got several. His stuff goes across several different platforms too.
yes,
Yeah.
he does. So
He's a great guy. We've actually met him in person a couple times.
Yeah, Bristol. We ran into him at Bristol Renaissance Fair at the gate. That was hilarious. He's sitting there TikToking, and I'm like, dude, where are you at?
Yeah, and he was in California for the induction.
Yep.
he has and he was here in St. Augustine for that induction.
Yes, he was. That's right. He was.
And he said when I talked to him actually last night while he was doing the show during the music, I said, well, I don't remember you being here. And he said, how would you remember anybody being here? You never stopped working.
He's right. You ran around like a man.
So I didn't even get in the big group picture at the end of the whole thing. Because I was busy working on something. I don't remember. But he's now agreed to do our show, and I think we're going to try to get him on a show in November.
Awesome. Yeah, he's
on the show. And I personally believe that with your show and his show and our show, our purpose was to try to reach out and show our support in other shows, and then have them come and be a part of our show too. And I think there's a good purpose for all of us to be on each other's shows and share. And because the biggest thing is it opens up our audience market.
Mm-hmm.
And some people that might be watching you that didn't know about us may now come and watch us, and vice versa.
Yep.
So we're sharing audiences and giving everybody a little taste of all kinds of pirates. And we're like you, we wanted to keep it history oriented.
Yeah. And
I love your guys. I love your this day in history, which we will get to later in this episode.
It's not that big of a community, so anything we can do to help each other out is always Excellent.
And
we
it's
try and do that
technology.
even outside of Pillage Overload.
And even the technology nowadays, like this, you talk about this 4 or 5 years ago, I was way out of the realm of even thinking. Obviously, COVID changed a lot of how the interaction is with the streaming and video chatting and how people kept together talking. I think there was some good things that came out of it, and this being one of them.
People have gotten used to video chatting.
Which
So-
is
And I think COVID is what pushed us in this direction also.
Yep.
I can tell you that I don't know about Davy, but I know that I spent some money on not knowing crap about anything, or in the old military term, not knowing shit over Shinola.
yeah.
I bought green screens and cameras, and all of that sits in a crate somewhere.
Yeah.
We don't use. So
we have the same thing. It's sitting right behind the TV that I was just telling you about. There's a big crate back here
with all the extra stuff that we've
equipment
learned that we didn't need it, and more was just not, or someone just now is outdated.
Yeah.
So speaking of Gonzo, he just sent me over on Facebook. He just sent me a message. I gave him 2 dates. He's available for either one. So he will be on our show in November. I'll probably put him on the show on the 18th of November.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. So once again, one other pirate, one other pirate show, online show that we can share audiences and everything else with. So it's a good thing.
Do you have any, you guys been doing this now for 4 years. So 100
3 years. 3 years.
You're about to hit 152 episodes, you said?
Yep. Monday night will be 152, right, Davey? Yep.
Do you have any major favorite ones that kind of just stick out as that was an awesome show? I'm really happy with that one. I love the laugh.
Let's see.
Well, it's
Yeah, think hard. Pick the favorite.
Yeah. We had Stephen Sears on. He's a native of St. Augustine, but he's a writer and producer of television shows out in L.A. And
like
he
Xena.
Was go ahead.
Did you say Xena?
Yeah,
he wrote for Xena.
You're speaking her language now.
Yeah, Xena, the A-Team, Riptide, Swamp Thing, Hercules.
Oh,
Yeah,
you talking about Sears? Is that his last name?
Sears.
Well,
yeah,
Sears.
Yeah.
You might think it's.
Well, I know all those shows.
So he was on our
teenager
show.
of the 80s.
And I think was he one of the first ones where we really went over an hour?
Yeah.
I mean, we had tried to keep our shows to an hour. And then when we had him on, it was about a 2-hour show. And when we have really good guests, our shows go an hour plus.
Mm.
We had another one on our show that you all know. Shadow Player Steve Weisel.
Mr. Wetzel.
Yep. He was on our show, and that show went 2 hours plus, talking about sword fighting and the movies and everything else. And I just couldn't get him to shut up.
He's very proud of what he does.
No, he's very good at it. And speaking of that, do you know who Lennox is?
Lennox.
He's also a sword fighter, a movie trainer of sword fighting.
Name sounds familiar.
Hold on, I'll give you his first name here. He has agreed to do a show with us.
Who? I wish I remember the guy who trained us.
I can't remember the name of him.
I'll
we did that
somewhere.
We got some sword training when we did the Hands trilogy with Mr. Willis, and the guy that trained us was. First off, he was a very patient, very understanding man because none of us knew how to sword fight at all.
Should watch the two of us practice.
Yeah, it was horrific.
John Lennox, and he's agreed to do a show, and I think we're going to put him. He's not going to be in St. Augustine till sometime next year, so it'll be a remote show with him. Mm-hmm. And he's knowledgeable on historical shipboardings, Navy and pirate shipboardings. Awesome. So he's been here in St. Augustine a couple of times.
Nice.
I think I've known him since 2008. So we've had some good shows. I will tell you another show. Just I'll put it out there so that Davey doesn't get ahead of it. I wasn't feeling well one night and decided to take some medicinal stuff. By the end of the show, they're all laughing at me because I can't remember what we're doing.
I think I remember Mandy mentioning this last time we were all talking together.
Yeah. So I mean, we've had some shows where I don't remember the end of the show.
I've been down that road. Yeah. Back when
before
we got on
bar,
YouTube,
and before the bar, he was leaning on his cane when we had our seats down there, and I'm like, "Are you ready for bed?" He's like, "No, we can continue on."
The problem is, and I'm sure anybody watching the show, and I see Bo is on there now too.
Yep,
I see anybody watching the show will probably at least agree with me. I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I fucking like to talk.
No way. Get right out of town.
And that's what makes the show.
Hey, look,
if you did, why the hell would you be doing this?
Yeah, really. Like, why? That's a good trait to have when you do a podcast.
I mean,
and everything we do is pretty much improv and ad lib.
Yep.
And Davy's really good at catching those little nuances and doing the things that add to the show. And that just comes from us working together now for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we'll go past one show a week. I think one show a week is enough.
Oh yeah.
When we're as popular as Joe Rogan, I'll give it some other thought. But for now,
give me that $100 million contract. I'll do 5 shows and maybe 6.
Yeah, I mean,
hey,
that or the day that Elon Musk catches one of our shows and says, "Hey, that's pretty good. I like it."
Yeah.
So, but it's great. I like doing the show. Davey has a good time. Right?
Yeah. I like doing behind the scenes. I really do.
Yeah, Davey's more of a behind the scenes kind of a guy anyway.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that, we joke about I'm more of an introvert, believe it or not.
I don't believe that.
It was more of a forced habit to be an
but...
extrovert, learn habits. When we did Cedar Key for our 100th episode, it was the first time we did it in front of a large group of people. And I thought I was going to pass out because it's like, all right, it's different when I'm sitting here with him behind the bar, talking to a camera, not seeing people's faces, reading chats, and moving on. You're imaginary. Everybody out there is an imaginary land. I don't see you. I don't have to focus on your faces or anything. And then when you turn into the fact that you get a crowd there in front of you and everybody's watching you.
You got 25 people staring you in the face, waiting for every word you're saying, That's something different.
It is different. It's not a bother for me because you may or may not know, I did comedy clubs in Las Vegas for a long time. And
Mr. West Coast to East Coast.
I don't really have a problem standing in front of an audience and ad-libbing and improving and having a good time. And I think it's become much easier as a pirate. I mean, case in point, I can walk down the street and make some kind of an offhanded comment to a bunch of people, but when I'm walking down the street and I'm not wearing pirate gear, I have to make sure I remember I'm not wearing pirate gear. It won't be funny.
Yeah.
So the pirate gear and the pirate persona make it much more simpler. And I do an acting seminar, and I try to tell the pirates that take my seminar, it becomes too easy at times. So you really have to read your crowd because we can't be dirty, drunken pirates all the time.
Right.
Yeah. It's almost like a license to kind of get away with whatever you want.
It is.
Really.
Hey,
but that phrase, there's a time and a place, is extremely important.
Yeah.
Right.
I work for a construction company, and I take very good liberty of working for a construction company and being around construction guys when my mouth goes.
I just can't imagine you having a mouth.
Because it'll go someday.
But after telling me you were a rugby player,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're just one of the guys.
She's not.
I
she
was
is
definitely
not
one of the
kidding.
guys growing up. I was always one of the boys, so thankfully he saw through being one of the boys.
Yeah.
We're pleased to be a part of your show tonight and to be a part of the family that we're creating between you all and us. And we'll see you in Panama City.
Yep.
I may go to Cedar Key. I haven't decided yet. My wife will be in Arizona with her sisters, so I may drive over. I just not sure if I want to drive over and then turn around and drive back that night after being a pirate all damn day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We definitely understand that one.
yeah. Cedar Key is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's
And then I'll see you in February for Old City Pirate.
Yeah.
for sure.
And it's interesting you talk about the community with pirates, and it's kind of the same with community with military, because you both are former retired or veteran. You're veterans. That's
We're
what
veterans.
I like the term veterans. Jay is a veteran as well, and I'm just a Navy brat. I got dragged along for a little while, but
You were Coast Guard, right?
Yeah, Coast Guard, which is kind of funny that, and then I turned out not to be a pirate, but I was.
So I just learned something the other day about Coast Guards. I didn't know this about the Coast Guard.
What's that?
Our Navy patrols places like Somalia. That I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the Somalian pirates. And there are two reasons why when they capture the Somalian pirates that they can't really do a whole lot with them. One is our Navy's not really allowed to arrest them in any way, shape, or form. And because they're not citizens granted the privileges of our country, we can't hold them for trial. But
got a limbo.
Yeah. But I just learned the other day talking to an old retired Coast Guard guy, the Coast Guard can go and do all of that anywhere in the world.
Really?
Yes.
Anywhere in the world. Yes. I did not. I thought the Coast Guard only was there for our protection of our coastlines, but the Coast Guard can go anywhere in the world.
That means
And they are more like a police force of the
Yes.
United States Navy.
I have
Interesting.
my two cousins are Coast Guard.
So I have a newfound respect for our Coast Guard because of what they can do. I just never gave it a whole lot of thought. And after talking to this guy, and it was at during one of my tours at the Pirate Museum after the tour, he enlightened me. And it's an interesting thing. I love it when I have people in my tours that will actually stop after my tour and share with me their life and their things. And I learn just as much as I think I help everybody else learn at times. So that's a good thing.
My youngest cousin, my grandmother used to call us bookends because I'm the oldest and the only girl, and then she was born. She's the youngest, and the other girl. So my grandmother called us bookends. But she was Coast Guard. She just got out recently, but she was up in Massachusetts and up north for the longest time and doing the cutter, going through and breaking the ice. And then my other cousin, he's up in, I think he's at Cape May right now, up in Jersey, and he's been in for a while. So I got family in Navy, Air Force. Yeah, my family's been all military and most service, like fire chiefs and
I have my uncle.
Public service. I guess that's a better term to use.
My uncle was in the Coast Guard. He was in the Coast Guard.
Oh, Uncle Steve. Yeah.
In Vietnam. So I mean, that's,
wow.
Being a Coast Guard. That's that's it right there.
And Dad was.
I have
Army.
My cousin Kevin is in the Navy right now, and he's
a chief.
Yeah, he's a chief, and he does like crazy stuff. He was working with SEAL teams, working on their equipment, and
don't say too much.
Touring with them, doing stuff with them,
doing
things.
On November 11th this year happens to be a Monday, so we're going to do a show on that Monday because that's Veterans Day also, and I've already been inviting some of my friends from around here that are vets, and I have Navy, Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard represented. I don't have Marines yet, But we're going to do another one of our around the table shows and just talk about being vets and the history of that and have a good time that night. There'll probably be some drinking involved because, after all, the military and pirates, that's what we're good at.
All right.
My uncle just chimed in and said my cousin, who's still in the Coast Guard, spent a year patrolling the waters of the Middle East. I forgot he was in Bahrain.
Yeah.
He was over there patrolling over there. I totally
So
forgot.
that's just a little known point. I don't know why it's not as knowledgeable as it should be, because the Coast Guard, that means the Coast Guard is a very, very important part of our military arm.
Yeah.
And considering how much that Coast Guard is given
you
shit
don't-
for.
You don't realize how spread out they are. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I would have thought along the same lines as you, is that they just were protecting our coastline and not worldwide. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So speaking of pirates, though, and your show is about history.
Yep.
Before you get into your piece of history, something just came into my head. I want to share it with you. So you know what the Articles of Privateering are, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Do you know that the United States Congress had to make a decision on bringing privateers into our lives again under John McCain?
Yes. I
And-
remember reading that.
Yeah,
Yes.
John McCain wanted to enact the legalities of
I remember.
privateering to start patrolling places like Somalia, so
Yep.
that the United States military wouldn't have to do it, because, as I said earlier, the United States Navy really doesn't have the power to do anything but protect. But privateers could do a lot more than protect.
Mhm.
And John McCain was completely voted down by all the rest of the votes.
I didn't think it
which
was such
it was
they don't know.
stupid that they decided not to do it. But it was the first time privateering had been enacted, other than the American Civil War, would go all the way back to the American Revolution.
Revolutionary. Yep. Chesapeake Bay, big area where
But
pirates.
historical wise, the American Revolution and the American Civil War, there was privateering going on in the Civil War also, but this was the first time since that time. That's kind of a historical point. Brains and intelligent on John McCain's part. Of course, him being military that he was, I can see why he thought it was a good idea. Had I been voting for it, I'd have voted for it. So I don't know what the vote tally was or who voted against it, but the way I understand it, it was overwhelmingly dropped down. So shows the intelligence of our Congress and our Senate.
I would be interested to see what percentage of us in current times right now are pirates with military background. Now, I know a couple weeks ago you had brought a gentleman on who has started a pirate group that was Golden Anchor. It's specifically for those who are veterans that are a part of that group.
Yes, Samuel Moon.
Yes.
He started a kind of an online Facebook pirate crew that has. So he's calling it a fleet.
Yep.
And he has representation in, I think, 4 or 5 different cities now.
And they're not all. Were they all Florida, or is it?
No, I know. I think
he's
he's got Alabama, Georgia.
I remember Georgia being one.
Virginia,
Yep.
I think.
I
haven't heard a whole lot from him lately. I know he's had some other things he's been taken care of, but he's what he's built is an online pirate crew,
A community,
an online pirate community, which is not anything unlike what Marc Fauger has done out of Quebec. It's not anything like what Talderoy and Lycan have created with the Order. They're communities of pirates from all points of the compass, and doing good works in all points of the compass. So
with a common theme that they're able to join.
Yes, and then there were a few pirates down here that were upset, and hopefully they're no longer upset because they were afraid that this would pull people out of their own crews.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, because it's an online thing. It's not a physical location thing like most of the crews are. So I wholeheartedly support it.
It's like joint citizenship.
Yeah, to a point, that's a good way to look at it. That's it.
Emily said Maurice and Cali. I'm assuming she means that Maurice Dixon in California is also a part of that group.
Yes, I believe so. I believe he is.
I did not know that.
So, would you allow me to give an analogy on why I enjoy having military people in my crew here?
Absolutely. I'm born and bleed military, so anything when it comes to that, I'm always happy and giddy to hear.
This is not a hard 100% rule. So anybody that doesn't fall under this, there's no means or ways or means for me to be insulting everybody. But we're not all real pirates.
No,
I'm not a pirate captain.
Really?
Yeah.
God, you're just crushing my dreams now.
And there are some crews that the entire crew is all a bunch of pirate captains. But the one thing I truly enjoy, and I have some people in my crew, I think maybe almost half of our crew are military in some way, shape, or form, aren't they?
Yeah.
I have some people in my crew that are officers from the military. They still give me the respect of being the leader.
Mm-hmm.
They understand what the chain of command is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They understand that we do our job, and if there's a problem, they can step up and say something about it. They don't have to go and
two-step
nitpick and be idiotic about it behind people's back. I think that is a trait that comes from most people that have anything to do with the military, including brats. So, because you were brought up that way. It's not 100% across the board. I don't want anybody to think that that's what I'm saying. It isn't 100% across the board, because the other side of it is that good common people understand responsibilities and also understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah. There's a caveat to everything.
And I'll just put it this way. Almost every person, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway. I don't care. Let me have a rum. I've been doing pirating for 19 years. Almost every person that I've ever had to I've had to deal with drama with, fall completely outside that norm I just spoke of. Completely.
Mm-hmm.
It's where all the drama's always been.
Yeah.
I believe
I have pirates from other crews that I know by their action. That's probably two of the best traits of military people. Jay, you'll have to agree with this, I'm sure. You can almost pick out military people without saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
And you also
absolutely, yep.
And the other thing is when you have a conversation with somebody that's prior military, it's almost like you've been friends forever. Whether you worked in the same foxhole or the same division or the same unit, you're friends anyway. Automatically, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, you said you were in Japan. As soon as you said that, you got my ears perked up, because I spent 3 years over there, and it's like somebody who was over there who understands Japan.
Yeah. And that's a huge word. It's the understanding and a common experience. Even if it's Navy and Army, Navy understands the chain of command, Army understands the chain of command. You like Mr. Willis was in the Army and I was in the Navy, but he can tell me a story about when he was in the Army about something that happened to him, and just a silly story, and how the upper chain of command reacted to it. And I instantly understand, because I know that in the Navy they would have reacted the same way.
Tucci just came on.
So that's a common experience and a common thing. Like, you just instantly know those kinds of things. And
I'm raising my toast to Mr. Tucci there. I see Jay Tucci is on board. Captain Tucci, good to see you.
He says, "I came here for pirates." And
Well-
what do you think
Well,
you're looking at
yeah.
there, buddy?
I
You
see
got-
4 on the screen right now.
Yeah, you got him here, buddy. You came for pirates. You got 'em.
Militia pirates. That may be good enough.
So
So I mean that's what you're saying that's the way I look at it. It's a common experience. It's just kind of an understanding, you know.
So a really interesting military situation happened in the Pirate Museum, and this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. We had some military Navy come in, and they were old. I mean, they were old, and they were all wearing hats, and they were wearing their ball hats, and they were on the Missouri.
Oh,
wow.
They were on the Missouri at the very end of the Second World War, and the Missouri is where all the paperwork and the treaties and everything, and FDR.
Yeah, that's where they signed the treaty.
Yep.
As I talked to them for a few minutes, and then they went into the museum, I told all of our people in the museum, that is history walking through our door right there.
Yes.
You make sure you give them respect and you talk to them because they were there when it happened. And they were just wonderful people. I think there were 4 of them, and they were all like in their late 80s, early 90s. And it was just a wonderful thing so, you know, my father was in the military. I joined the military. I think it's a good thing. I really do. And I'm proud of my 16 years in the military. And I had some strange assignments. I've had some fun ones. I don't talk a whole lot about it anymore, but it's good.
Proclamation.
And I think it forms our psyche to a certain degree.
Definitely something always it's just that link that you hear, your ear perks up when you go, you want to talk and you want to share some of those experiences with. So,
Yep.
But yeah, Tucci's like, militia pirates. I came here for pirates. I'm like, all right, Tucci. So he came here for pirates. So crossing over the
Go
military
ahead, cross over.
with the pirates, going into the history, let's talk about King George's proclamation. And for anybody who's on the show who doesn't know, the proclamation was made on the 5th of September of 1717, where it was the suppression of pirates. It's known simply as the Act of Grace. So they basically said from this date, if you committed piracy from this date to this date, and you accept this pardon, we will not hang you. Which is interesting because if you did piracy before that date, you're just screwed. So, but there was a lot of pirates who actually took the pardon and then turned around and snubbed the pardon. And some of them who took the pardon and ended up like following through with it. Benjamin Hornigold being one of the well-known one. Henry Jennings, who I swear after reading how much of an asshole he was, he's like my least favorite pirate.
Yeah, if you watch the Pirate Kingdom,
yeah, that one.
Jennings,
they got man. The way they made him was
they made him into a complete a-hole in that show.
Did you watch Pirate Kingdom?
I watched parts of it, but I have to tell you that there were certain parts of it in the first and the second episodes that were completely wrong.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that, 100%.
And the curator of the museum, Matthew Frick, that week I walked in and I said to him, "Did you watch those first 2 episodes?" He said, "Yeah," and I'm not watching anymore. I said, "I'm right there with you." So I just wasn't. They kind of blew it for me in the first episode or 2 when they got so many things I thought were wrong based on what we know about the history of pirates now.
I think that's why we kind of, at least why I sucked it up to watch through, because I wanted to see how much of a train wreck it could be.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Ed Fox actually participated in that.
Well, he said a lot that he commented on it, and it was when he did all that, the way they portrayed it was not the way.
Well, here's the thing too: is a lot of the people that were the experts in the show. He even said this: is Ed said that they can take what you say, and then they'll just do whatever the hell they want. So I
True.
mean, you can say certain things, but they're gonna do the show however they want to do the show. You have no say in that.
Except when you're
Here's what I tell people when I do my tours. What most everybody knows about the history of pirates, or the history of anything, but specifically when we're talking pirates, what most non-pirates know about the history of pirates is because of movies.
absolutely.
And movies have to be entertaining. To a
Mhm.
historian, history is entertaining, but to everybody else, history is not that entertaining. And so
100%.
the movies have to be entertaining. Will
Yep.
they take liberties?
Lots of
course
them.
they
A
will.
lot of them. A lot of liberties.
A lot of eye-rolling liberties.
Yes.
Or as you said, you're giving me a headache.
You know what we should do? We should have a party, and we could do it as an online party, and we should watch all those episodes back to back. And every time there's a difference of opinion, we have to take a shot. And
I like that idea,
I
except
believe
Yeah.
if we did that, we wouldn't have to watch, but only
Yeah.
the first episode.
Yeah, we wouldn't even make it through half the first episode.
Probably not.
so when we finished last season, it's funny you say that. When we finished last season, we wanted to do a special, and we were going to watch Cutthroat Island. And we were
Yeah.
going to do.
That's my favorite.
Completely historically accurate movie.
So
Yeah.
we decided we were going to do live commentary. We had seen plenty of shows who do live commentary on movies and all that. So we were like, all right, this is okay. We're doing a commentary. We could play the movie. We won't get hit at all by YouTube. I think like 10 minutes into it, YouTube stopped streaming us because we were in copyright violation because we were playing the movie as we were talking about it. And as soon as I stopped playing the movie, it took like a couple of minutes, and then they brought the live stream back, and I'm like, well, guess we're not doing that now.
Yeah, we learned our lesson on that one too. We played something off of YouTube that we didn't think. Actually, it was my fault, and YouTube shut us down. But Mandy was able to go through and strip it out. And
Rub it, yeah.
But yeah,
It wasn't even worth it.
they'll
I
get
said
you.
whatever. It's not harming the channel, and it's not displayed. I'm like, it's not even worth scrubbing. It's like
Yeah,
whatever.
We're not big enough for that to be a problem.
No. It's the way they handle it. It was
Oh,
because of how we were doing it.
this pardon paper that you sent me,
Yeah.
I
So
read through it. You know what I found that was interesting was that there was a price tag.
yes.
And depending on what you were in the crew, depending on how much you were really worth.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting and a brilliant move by the king or by England.
I always say
To-
England because King
to-
wasn't that smart.
Give a reward. So, like, if the officers turned somebody in who was a pirate, they got a certain amount. If the crew turned somebody in who was a pirate, they got a certain amount. So, if you're a pirate after that, you're not safe anywhere because
No.
anybody could turn you in. And
No.
because
So according to this, the captain's worth £100. So
Yep.
the master and the bosun and the carpenter and the gunner were worth £40. You're in. They say inferior officers. I believe that. I'm going to have to
Lieutenant?
go look that up because I'm wondering if inferior. It sounds like a slight, but I'm sure it's a difference of a word. The way the British did it, but
Yeah, the slights of their language versus ours now today is
Yeah,
definitely
they were only worth £30, and then every pirate man the sum of £20. So there was only a difference between 20 pounds to £100 if you were just a crew or a captain.
Would you have taken the proclamation?
I
if
know you
were-
asked me that earlier, and I thought about it, and I don't think I would have taken it.
Would you have been like a Charles Vane or a Blackbeard who took it?
I would have probably continued on because I don't like the government.
They're all
you know what?
idiots.
It's funny. I'm with you on that because I'm, it's kind of
I
rebellious.
was worth 2
rebellious
chickens
in that
at one
way.
point.
Here's on a serious note, here's how I look at it, more so than anything else on a serious note. So there I am from 1714 to 1717 now. I've done 30 plus months of this.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, I might have been an actual soldier in something else during one of the wars between England, Spain, or Spain and France, or England and France, or whatever else.
Right.
I've got all
Yeah.
these
All right,
years.
Captain Blood.
The million of wars that they did.
Yeah, I got all these years of training that I can sail. Hopefully, I'm brave enough that I can stand in the fray of a fight and hold my own. I'm used to hardships. I'm used to bad weather. If we take the pardon, what do?
Yeah, then you got to go back to all that crap.
Do I go back to being a farmer or a clerk in a store?
Yeah.
Or
do you live out your life on the island somewhere?
especially if
making
you're
jack for money and
more so, especially if you were the captain and the leader of a group of men. Do you go to being just some commoner now?
yeah.
I don't think I would have taken it in any way, shape, or form. Now, I might have taken the ship and gone and tried to figure out something to do and kept a lower profile.
Probably gone over to like Africa because that's where you probably would be able to keep a low profile, like Avery.
I just don't think I would have taken it. And I think it's the same argument that many of them had. Blackbeard, his argument to Hornigold was, I don't want to go back to being a farmer. So
yeah.
I mean,
there's just no going back. Like you've done it, like you said, you've done it for so many years, and there's this
the life
I equate it to the way I live my life now. We own our own business. We own Parlay. I do this now as my life. This is my life now. But before this, before I started working doing Parlay full time, I worked for Piedmont Airlines. I worked at Richmond Airport. I did that. I did all kinds of stuff. I've worked for Hard Rock Cafe. I've worked for, all kinds of different businesses. It's the same thing everywhere you go. And now that I've been doing this for 10 years almost now?
Yeah, a little bit less than that.
A little bit less than 10 years. There is no way in hell I could go back.
I know.
I could go back to working for Piedmont Airlines or working for the Richmond
I have
Airport.
a more devious nature, even though I'm silent.
Yeah, Dave. Well, see, let's listen to Davy now. Go ahead.
So, if I had been one of the officers, hopefully more in the clerical line of stuff, I would have taken it, and then I would have endeared myself to the king or whoever had done it. I would have worked myself into his good graces, and then I would have worked out a different kind of scheme to screw the fuck out of them.
And the other side of it is this: look how many of them accepted it, but then within a month
went right back
at it again.
Steve Bonnet, Charles Vane, Rackham supposedly took it, and Edward England's another one who supposedly took it and went right back. And obviously Blackbeard, who took it in June, and then you're talking 5 months later. 5 months later,
funny.
He's done.
The whole scenario I just explained is I am a pirate, and I do my own thing. But would I go back to doing the corporate thing? No, I wouldn't. I can't do it.
No,
not that anybody would ever probably hire me anyway, because I've been out of the game way too long.
I see Mr. Willis just came in.
He did.
Oh my God! Better late than never.
He is here. Holy.
So I'm curious.
Is on as well.
I've not had many opportunities to stand around and share a rum with Mr. Willis.
Oh, Mr. Willis, you're on the spot now.
Well, if you come down and see
I wonder if he's the kind that would have taken that pardon, because I think he is the kind that would have said,
I can answer that for you.
He probably
would know.
Yeah, I don't think he's the guy.
He would have done Blackbeard did. He would have taken it and pretended to take it and would have taken advantage of it.
Yeah.
You should.
Now-
He would run his game out of North Carolina somewhere. Making England think he took the pardon.
He's got his band of pirates.
So
It's either that or it was a hell no.
It's appropriate that you found this because today is September 5th. So you know, this was 300 years ago.
It was
But this isn't the only pardon that was put out there.
No, I think this was the second of 3, I think is what it was.
What I found,
I remember my history right. Another one was put out around 1719, 1720.
Yeah, well, it was kind of it was extended
extended
too. This one was extended. What I thought was interesting is that
sorry, before you finish, already, Willis is like, "What is the question?" We are talking about the king's pardon for pirates that was done in 1717, and we're asking, would you have taken it? So that's what the question was. Before you shut up, Willis.
We're all talking about.
Just asked a really good question there. Did you have to be English to take the pardon? I think it was across the board any pirate.
Any pirate, it was 100% any pirate.
I don't think
because a lot of the pirates that were taking it were not just English.
Yeah,
no, there were French and some Spanish. There were Portuguese.
I imagine they determine each case on kind of a case-by-case basis.
English, was he? Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
See, I told you. He said I would take it, then keep pirating. I told you. I told you.
So yeah, what I was kind of surprised about is that it was initially issued in 1717, and that they gave him as much time as they gave him to.
And then they extended it even more.
Make the decision. Yeah, because when they issued it was good for a year, and then they extended it to 1719, I think. So I mean,
the date, it says the date was extended to July 1st, 1719, according to the proclamation of December 21st, 1718, printed in blah, blah, blah. On February 9th, 1718, the Attorney General was requested to interpret the meaning of several clauses in the above proclamation.
Blah, 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 blah.
And the queries and answers are printed in full in the Acts of Privy Council. So they had to bring somebody in to interpret, like, what does this really mean?
Well, they're talking about...
I had to read many spots on this several times because this is the worst lawyerese I've ever seen.
Right?
Yeah, you're trying to issue this to a bunch of guys that can barely even read English to begin with. So I imagine they had to have somebody come in there and actually read it out loud to them.
And then, well, it's reading it and then explaining it. What in layman? Nowadays, you have a lawyer talking to you like, what the hell does that mean? Layman terms. Speak. Yeah. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? No. Speak English.
Well, they all spoke English.
No, let's speak American. Sorry, let's speak American. The mail was slow back then, says Stephen.
Well, that is true.
I also like the comment he said. He's like, I became a farmer after the pardon. I was worth 2 chickens at one point.
I mean, you can understand to a point them extending it out 2 years because things happened much slower.
Oh God, then. Yes. It took what did we say? It took 9 months to get across the pond. Is that when we did Henry Morgan? Is that what we figured?
It's 9 months.
I think.
I don't think it was quite that long, but
it was that long. But it was more like
I think it was 4 to 3. I think 4 to 5 months was standard, but it also depended on whether they found themselves in the Gulf Stream or they tried to fight it.
Yeah, whether they decided to go during hurricane season or not.
2 years probably wasn't all like a really extended period of time.
Well, you also had to figure that they had to take the part. First off, the proclamation had to get over to the colonies, whatever, over here. They had to announce it. And then those who said, yes, I would take it, maybe that information had to go back to England. So
that's a year right there. Just announcing it and then getting it back to England.
And maybe that's why the pirates were like, well, I have plenty of time for it to go back. I'll pirate a little more. And then when it's there, it's like, what are you talking about? I didn't pirate.
It's kind of like in the old days of checking accounts back in the 80s and 90s. You could float a check for days.
Or do the stupid shit that the kids nowadays are doing with the Chase Bank glitch and stupid stuff.
Oh. Yeah, and his actually got it. The check is in the mail. He's absolutely
right. The check, yeah. Glunster, yes, checks in the mail. We're all doomed. Yeah. We're all doomed. To say I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. Oh. What are you talking about? I took it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
it was an interesting time, that time of 1716 to 1723. It was definitely interesting time. One of the things I always tell people when we talk about in my tours about pirates, at least most of the pirates were honest and open and said, yeah, we're pirates. Mm-hmm. Who was really more corrupt? And it wasn't the pirates. It was all these government representatives that came in with all these proclamations and watching over the king's money. These guys were the corrupt ones.
They weren't corrupt.
Side deals with pirates and doing what they could. So,
it kind of the corruption in England and the way they handled the Royal Navy led to piracy to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if England had treated their sailors with any kind of respect or any kind of, if they had paid them well, if they had done what they needed to do, they probably wouldn't have had the amount of pirates they had to begin with. Because that's the reason a lot of those guys left the Royal Navy, is because they were treated like crap.
I totally feel that when you look at piracy, we've always talked about there's two different golden age of piracy, I say. You have right before the 1700s and you have right after the 1700s, and right after is what everybody knows. It's the Rackham, it's the Vane, it's the Blackbeard.
Right.
And before, everybody loved the pirates. There wasn't so much, Vane and Jennings were assholes. You read about them. They were really god awful on what they did. And earlier, I think prior to 1700,
you had Morgan in the 1680s. Look what he did.
Yeah.
He convinced Morgan, Avery to make him the governor of Port Royal, Jamaica.
Yeah, you're right about that. I forgot about the things that he was doing. Because the Tennessee and how they talk about him.
And Morgan was really not just a feared pirate by especially the Spanish, because he had this habit of burning cities down.
Yep.
But he was respected in a fearful way by all the pirates that followed him, and he had a lot of pirates that followed him.
He was clearly a good leader because he could bring pirates together.
I would say he's an effective leader.
Yeah.
And the last time we were on the show together, didn't we talk about Captain Blood and the fact that points of Captain Blood might actually, was it you that we were having that conversation with? Some of the points of the movie Captain Blood actually mirror some of the life points of.
I don't think we talked about it when we were doing our show, but you had talked about it and we were chiming in and
so Captain Blood, the movie by Raphael Sabatini, there are certain points of Captain Blood that mirror Captain Morgan's life. And I never thought about that until it was brought up, and I had to go back and start looking, and damn, yeah, it is.
Watch it again. So, there's actually a movie that they did with Captain Morgan. Was it Black Swan?
Yeah, I think that was Black. Was it Black Swan?
Yeah. Well,
there is a movie called Morgan also, but it's very little known.
Yeah, no, I think the one I'm talking, I think it's Black Swan. I'll have to go back and look. But the guy that played Morgan, you look at the picture of him, and then you look at the plate of Henry Morgan, and it's just like
whoever did the casting in that movie,
casting's like, this is Captain Morgan. We're gonna do it.
On.
So I'll have to agree with Mr. Willis there. He would have loved to have been alive back then. I think I would have to agree with him. I think it would be interesting because I think that you were either successful or not successful by your abilities to work within a crew and or be the leader of a crew.
I would say that I would have liked being back then for that. But as a woman, the reality of it is, I don't know what it was like for. I always talk about. I know there were women pirates out there. They hide their gender and do all that. So where I may be in a business where it's male dominated and I'm out there, but for back then, how it was, that's a hard toss of what I would think I want to, but the reality is would I have been able to survive?
And without being really too detailed, based on the fact that Blackbeard blockaded Charleston for a specific reason, Mercury, hygiene back then would be the one thing that would turn me off.
Yeah. I mean, after a weekend of pirating, I really love a shower when I get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deborah would have been a badass. I'm sure of that, Mr. Willis. I am quite sure of that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I can imagine going months without a bath. Oof.
Well, this, as much as you love it, Mr. Mayhem, these definitely would have been the first things to go because they always shade them because of
that's why they didn't have
it back then. Is Captain J saying hello to somebody in the group named Gene, or is it he making a comment on hygiene?
Oh,
probably both.
It's probably him. Oh, touche. It's almost as bad as his light.
It's probably
picture.
Both.
So we are on the top of the hour, and he's laughing. Was Black Boa? We are on top of the hour, and as much as we love to continue on the conversation with our guests tonight, Ballast and I do have to be up early tomorrow morning because we have Harvest Fair this weekend at Smithfield, Virginia.
You can sleep when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
So Ballast and I are actually going to get there at the ass crack of dawn, as he says, so we can get our stuff loaded down there and be prepared for the rest of the crew to show up, because that's what a good officer does. Harvest Fair will be very fun. If those in Virginia, if you are around, come out to Smithfield at the Breezy Hill Meadery. It's this weekend. All bring canned goods. It helped. All canned goods brought are going to be donated to the Food Bank of Virginia. They have an auction that's going to be going on. We are donating a pirate. Oh my God, I can't talk.
You were doing fine.
We are donating a Parlay original flag for the Viking raid. It's actually a Viking design style on it that says Harvest and Raid. So we'll be donating that for part of the auction to raise money for the charity. But thank you guys. We really appreciate you bringing us on a couple weeks ago, and we're so grateful that you were on this week. And
thanks for taking the time to come out tonight.
Guinea pigs for the first time of us doing it.
We enjoyed it, right?
I enjoyed it.
Yep. We want to continue to do more, so we'll look at some other things in the future. But I guess we'll see you in Panama City in about 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Something like that.
Don't give me time frame.
And
then dates, you're freaking
I
around.
don't need a panic more.
And then we'll see you again in St. Augustine in February.
Yes,
for real.
Definitely look forward to it. All the Florida events in the warm, colder months up here. So
we're gonna end up having to get an apartment down there or something, because
we're
spending way too much time down there. Yeah. But thanks for coming out, guys, and
thank you for having us on the show.
Yep. And until next week, we'll see you guys. Catch these guys Monday night, 8 p.m. on their YouTube channel. We have it posted down there, Captain's Quarter Podcast. If you have any questions, email us. We'll get you their link. And until next time, catch newsletter. We'll put the drink in there. But as always, hashtag drink more rum. Night, everybody. Be safe. Fair winds and following seas. And I forgot how to say goodnight on this thing.